Today on Warrior Showcase, we're going to highlight Kwame Nkrumah, the man, the movement, as well as the legacy. Also, we're going to discuss what exactly it means to be a black leader. Many people have heralded Barack Obama as our black president, but I want to take us back a couple decades to see what it really is to be a black president. You know, someone that black people can wrap their arms around, a true leader of Africans everywhere, who is not just black in terms of his skin color or the race of one or two parents, but who is black or African in terms of his thought, his intentions, his vision, his efforts, versus someone who is just a black president for the simple reason that he is black. He says, "Our continent gives us the second largest land stretch in the world. The natural wealth of Africa is estimated to be greater than that of almost any other continent in the world. We need to unify our efforts, resources, our skills, and intentions." At the present, most of the African states were moving in directions which expose us to the dangers of imperialism and neocolonialism. We therefore need a common political basis for the integration of our policies in economic planning, defense, foreign and diplomatic relations. That basis for political action need not infringe on the essential sovereignty of separate African nations. This means that Nkrumah respected the sovereignty of other nations. He wasn't trying to ride roughshod over anybody else's policy, culture, and way of running their state, but simply a way to coalesce or unify ourselves so that we can stand as a strong force in the face of Western opposition. As for power, which is an important factor in any economic development, Africa contains over 40% of the potential water power of the world, as compared with about 10% in Europe and 13% in North America. Yet so far less than 1% has been developed. This is one of the reasons why we have in Africa the paradox of poverty in the midst of plenty and the scarcity in the midst of abundance. And to put it in more of a perspective, some of the cash crops in Ghana include timber, manganese, oil, cocoa, and bauxite. And to add to that, Ghana was so well known for its gold that the British had named it the Gold Coast, and it was called that from 1874 to 1957. So when we're talking about sitting on the wealth of nations, Nkrumah had that alone within the borders of Ghana. In 1960, Kwame Nkrumah became the first democratically elected president on the African continent. In 1966, Kwame Nkrumah was overthrown and ousted from his presidential seat while out of the country. Many believe that the CIA was heavily involved and further contributed to the economic and political unrest which plagued Ghana for the decades to follow. And the speech reads as follows. "For centuries, Europeans dominated the African continent. The white man arrogated himself the right to rule and be obeyed by the non-white. His mission, he claimed, was to civilize Africa. Under this cloak, the Europeans robbed the continent of vast riches and inflicted unimaginable suffering on the African people." You can go to Europe and see all of the gold and luxuries that are stolen from Africa. You can go to the New World and see us scattered across and see the vestiges of the slave trade. You can also see the foundation and the great nations that we've built over here, although wicked and evil, yes, but our blood, sweat, and tears and millions of our lives have been unjustly laid to rest for the construction of these societies and what we consider the New World or the Americas, what have you. But anywhere you go, you can see the influence of Africa and also the influence of the African struggle, whether it can be poverty in some places, which therefore translates into luxury for others. But one truly has to look around and see the effect, because we're not an individual people. It's not about me being American. It's not about me being Jamaican or Puerto Rican or Nigerian or or Brazilian or Ghanaian or South African. It's about the fact that we are all African and that we are all united in the international African struggle. It is clear that we must find an African solution to our problems, and that this can only be found in African unity. Divided, we are weak. United, Africa could become one of the greatest forces for good in the world. Never before have a people had within their grasp so great an opportunity for developing a continent endowed with so much wealth. But the economic development of the continent must be planned and pursued as a whole. A loose confederation designed for economic cooperation would not provide the necessary unity of purpose. Only a strong political union can bring about full, effective development of our natural resources for the benefit of our people. And so you can see how it became important for the European, the white man, the neo-colonial or the imperial force, whatever you want to call it. You'll see why it was absolutely necessary in their mind to stop Nkrumah, because their power would disintegrate so rapidly without the mineral wealth of Africa. You know, so often we see the luxuries and the so-called power of Europe, such as coffees, the chocolates, the golds, the science and technology, but most people don't know that that stuff comes straight out of Africa. And without Africa to exploit, Europe returns to just being nothing. Kwame Nkrumah died at the age of 62 in Bucharest, Romania, while he was receiving cancer treatment. And this was in 1972. And it's so sad to know that one of the great voices and leaders had to die outside of the motherland. One of Africa's greatest sons had to die outside of the motherland. The land in which he had fought so hard to liberate, uplift, and make self-sufficient as it truly is, because Africa being the richest landmass on the planet, there's no reason that it should be also the most impoverished. And now this brings me back to the question, who is your black president? Is it Obama, who's done more things for white homosexuals than he's done for his so-called own black people? Are we fooled because this man has a black wife and 2 black daughters, but does nothing else for the sons and daughters of Africa living here in the United States? Are we supposed to accept when he tells us that it's time to move beyond race, that it's time to look at ourselves as Americans? You see, a true African leader, one who we can call our black president, has our needs in mind. It has our legacy in mind. It has our present in mind. It has our history in mind. And he is not lost from this path. So, once again, who is your black president? Where is your black leadership? I want to shed light on the faith and love that Nkrumah has for his people. And that while a lot of us think that many of these feats are near impossible, this is very possible. We come from the highest stock in the world. We are the original people, and we come from the most sacred landmass on the planet that has most of the planet's wealth. So why can't we do this? If this is where we come from and we come for greatness, then greatness is ingrained into our DNA. And this doesn't change just because it's what you agree with. The truth isn't always what you agree with. You know, and this doesn't change because of how you see yourself. Because despite what you see when you look in the mirror, there's brown or black skin, woolly, curly hair, full features. No matter where you live, it's always going to show where you come from. And the sooner we start realizing that and who our real brothers and sisters are, instead of trying to lay with the enemy and bed with the beast and buy into foreign concepts and ideologies, the sooner that we'll be back on track to who we were before all of this madness started to take place. You have to understand the righteousness and how much of a visionary that Kwame Nkrumah is, to realize that we have to take back Africa. We have to take back the mineral wealth that belongs to Africa. And if we are children of Africa, it's our duty to fight for the dignity of our mother. You know, many of us have grown up never knowing Africa, never seen Africa, but you can look and see the melanin and the woolly hair and the full beautiful features of our people, and that shows that we are a people of abundance, and we come from a land of abundance. The natural beauty that we possess is only a reflection of the natural beauty from which we come. So to understand that we come from a land of abundance and divinity, that we are also a divine people that come from what anybody in their right mind would tell you is the Holy Land, that we have to come back and get this. We have to finish Nkrumah's work. I mean, for us to just let this pass and things to continue to go on the way that they are is a complete disgrace and dishonor to the legacy of Kwame Nkrumah and others who've put their lives on the line to see that our people are returned to dignity and eventually glory.
Every day I pray and I pray that the Spirit of Jah will guide us by my way, and that the love will return to our country, restoring the peace in all vicinity. Oh, I pray for Mama Africa, that Jah will deliver the land of our forefathers.